Why Belize? It's an interesting place. I've been there now a number of times, and I keep loving it every time. If you're an entrepreneur of any kind, when you go there, you're like, oh my God, I cannot believe how much opportunity there is. I get excited about Belize because, you know, I can see the potential. I can see where it's going, and it's interesting to be able to not just make a dollar, but be able to make a difference. And being able to make that difference is important. You know, you want to be able to also have the ability to know that your work meant something, that your work actually changed lives. One of the things that's I think is also neat is just the fact that how much of the project is in-source. I mean, the natural resources come from in the country. The jobs are coming from inside the country. It's not going to some other country. We're creating and making a difference for people locally, and they get to see and participate in it. Some of the things that I've seen there, I mean, I'm not a swimmer, but I'm told that those who like the diving and the marine life, it's an experience like none other. I know the food's like none other. You know, it's a unique experience. It's completely different than what most people expect, and yet there's so many of the same conveniences. You got 4G internet. It's crazy. On the island, yay, you got 4G internet. You're like, what? I thought this was a third world country. It's nothing like you think. You can't possibly imagine it. You know, you have to be there in order to understand it. And then, you know, most of the individuals that I've ever taken there, they go and then they come back, man, I want to go again. It wins them over. The country, the people, the environment, it wins them over. And that's what's amazing. You have a shot through a simple, you know, weekend excursion of being won over, and then you're not just making an emotional decision, you're now making a true sound business decision that actually feels good, sounds good, is good in so many ways, and you'll enjoy visiting. It's just an amazing play when you also begin to look at trends and you look at where tourists are going and what they're doing and where advertising dollars are going. Right now, some people are finally hearing about the country for the first time because there's finally advertising that's getting behind it. It's because there's growth there. There's potential for growth there, and that growth isn't gonna stop. I mean, when you start looking at the opportunities and the fact that sometimes it's a little bit more difficult than what people would like to either get there or to do business, all of those things become barriers to entry, which creates scarcity, which creates the opportunity for those who have the vision. And you know, sometimes seeing is believing, and sometimes what you need to do, you just gotta get on a plane and come with us and see. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'm glad that you're here today. I am Jay, your host of Q&A with Jay, right? So here's some things that I want to go over today. I've got a number of different things. I mean, in addition to everything that we're already going to talk about, all the questions that have been sent in, I see a number of you over here on the chat room already. Excellent. Thank you for the questions. Got lots of updates, and one in particular that you're probably not expecting and definitely wouldn't have unless you were here specifically, because I'm only doing this simply because I know you're right there and I know this is of value to you, and I'm going to share with you a link really quickly that is a video. So you see me sitting here typing, so me finding it real fast, because I want to show you something that those of you who are already, how do I say this, that are already members of the Cashflow Diary Founders membership, these are benefits that you guys already have access to, and I'm just trying to show the others of you who are not yet some things that you'll be able to learn, because this is really real time. This kind of just happened over the weekend, but what I'm doing is I'm going and giving you some real time access. I made the news. Congratulations, right? I made the news because my tenant decided to leave their kids alone. And now, I didn't do this. It didn't happen. The point is, here's the point. Fire happens, and you've got to have an emergency system in place. And I'm sharing this with you because one of the questions I get from time to time is, how do I respond in an emergency? How do you do this? And in this particular instance, that's exactly what happened, is that my team was there to respond, which was great. Fire trucks, police, that whole thing. Here's the point. Stuff happens. And when it happens, you need to make sure that your team is together. For those of you who have been looking at the small little snippets of my diary, you get this information. You understand how to build the team. You understand the inside stuff that tends to happen that most people don't get a chance to talk about. I don't always get a chance to say, hey, look, this is what just happened. And in this particular case, I do. So understand that even though you're housing hundreds, if not thousands of people, stuff happens. It's okay. Don't freak out. There's a way to respond to it, and there's a way not to respond to it. So that's enough about my going-ons at the moment. So let's talk about you guys. For those of you who don't know, if this is your first time, you're like, oh my God, we're starting off with a fire. Yes, it's a fire sale. No, I'm just kidding. What's really going on is I've been doing real estate now for a number of years. I started with not the greatest of advantages, but when things happen, I do my best to try to educate you on how to deal with them. This is just something that happened to me a few days ago. And now you have some understanding that it's okay, that you can recover. You can even make the news. Congratulations. Here's my point. From where my wife and I started from, we didn't have every advantage, and it has afforded us an opportunity to learn how to build a real estate portfolio that currently spans many different states and many different types. We're talking commercial real estate, we're talking cell phone towers, we're talking all kinds of different things all the way through this process. And I want to do my best to answer your questions and keep you in movement. Some of you are already part of some of our products or services. Maybe you've read the book Cashflow Diary, 10 Steps to Creating Wealth in Any Economy. Maybe not. Doesn't matter. The point is that the goal is to help you have the education and resources, and most importantly, know where to go when you need an answer, and that's called Q&A with Jay. That's why we're here. So with that being said, a number of you have already sent in some questions, and for those of you who are in the chat room, make sure you're at cashflowdiary.tv, cashflowdiary.tv. That way you type your question in the chat. We're going to do our best to speed through all of the questions today, and we'll see what happens as we go. Just remember, I've only got 5 minutes per question. Sometimes it'll be less, it'll be easier. And if I start to get the same question over and over and over again, you will hear words like C, previous answer, C, previous answer. And one more time, C, previous answer. Because I want to get to as many different questions as I possibly can inside of any one particular episode. So, Cashflow Diary podcast. Yes, if you haven't already, feel free to go over to iTunes, leave us a review, that'd be great. But definitely listen
to some of the interviews that we've done with some notable individuals like Russell Gray of the Real Estate Guys Radio, Samuel Freshman. If you've ever been interested in syndication whatsoever, how to go out there and raise capital, he is the guy that literally wrote the book in the industry. He's been doing it for 60 years. Most of you watching aren't even that old, and neither am I. So here's my point. He's been doing it a long time. He's been a guest. John Assaraf's been a guest. We've got a number of high quality, excellent entrepreneurs for you to listen to and learn from so that you can go out there and build your cash flow as well. All right, let me see. Let me check the chat room real fast, see what we've got. Question for Jay. I spoke with a guy who wants to buy an REO property but doesn't have the funds or credit to purchase it from the bank. Okay? He says it's his dream home and is asking if we can buy it for him and sell it to him on a lease option. Okay, that makes sense so far. What are our options for buying an REO and flipping it to a lease option buyer? Well, okay, Jamario, here's the basic premise of everything. So I know you're interested in wholesaling, Jamario, because that's what you've been, that's the product we've been talking the most about and where you're a member of. This is a longer-term cash flow play. So you would have to be able to raise enough capital. So that's step number one. So step number one is you're going to have to raise the capital. Now, I don't know if you have the sufficient credit or resources to raise that capital from a bank, but many people don't. And if you don't, then you're going to have to raise the capital privately in order to execute this strategy. Now, once you raise that capital, then you're going to have to execute the lease and the option, as well as probably some rehab is going to be involved. So you're going to then rehab, and then last, you're going to execute your exit strategy, which in this case is a lease option, etc. Now, one of the things that you should be aware of is with a lease option and someone who is stating up front that they don't necessarily have the credit for that, is that they're probably not going to, they're going to ask for a short term, and they're going to say things like, well, I want the lease option to be good for, or my option to be good for like 2, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. That's fine. What I would do if I were you is I would charge them a fee upon renewal. So hypothetically speaking, and I'm making up numbers here, just understand, say you take an initial $10,000 for the option deposit. On successive renewals, maybe you take $2,500, maybe you take $5,000. At some point, that option has to get so expensive that he actually executes. If you fail to do this, he may not execute. Now, that may be part of your entire strategy. Take in the option fee, knowing he's never going to be in a position to execute. But by putting the teeth there, i.e. additional payments required to keep the option alive, that'll give you the ability, A, to take in additional cash flow, and most importantly, give him the price that he may want on the back end when it comes down to actually selling the property. So keep that in mind. Jamario, we will go. Have you, sorry, I see a question in the chat room which is really funny that I must answer. It says, have you ever had a wholesale deal you couldn't sell? Well, that's how I got my first buy and hold. Let me put it that way. And here's my point. You learn about value. You learn what you can sell and you can't sell in that regard. So that's why you should have a minimum of 2 exit strategies, preferably 3, because plan A doesn't always work. Plan B also has to work too. And sometimes you got to go to plan Q, whatever it takes to get the job done. So keep that in mind as we go. Love the t-shirt, by the way. Thank you. Guest 326, I want to do a syndication. I have no multifamily experience. Should I partner with someone with multifamily experience for your first deal? Guest 326, by the way, please, guys, if you would just change the name so it's easier for me. That way I remember. But in this case, so guest 326, it depends if you already have capital or not. If you have capital today and you want to participate as a silent partner, so to speak, with someone else's syndication, that could make total sense. If you have capital today and you would rather be a sponsor, then that's going to take a special person who understands how to work with you that would want to do that. So I've done that before, but it's not necessarily the way to go. If you don't have capital at all, that's going to be a tougher situation to figure out. So because here's what I mean by that. Look at this. You've got many different resources, but I always break them down into 4, and you usually can have a dividing line right here. The person, these stand for knowledge, time, money, and credit. Knowledge, time, money, and credit. Knowledge, time, money, and credit. The person who usually has the money and credit usually does not have the knowledge and time, and vice versa. So what ends up happening is that the person with the money and credit contributes in order to obtain access to the knowledge and time. The person with the knowledge and time contributes their knowledge and time in order to gain access to the money and credit. So if you're saying you don't have knowledge and you don't have money and you don't have credit, and the only thing you've got is time, that becomes a more challenging situation to be able to get you the experience that you're looking for. So just understand that it's not that it's impossible, it's just that it makes it harder to find that sponsor or person that would work with you in that capacity, because you're sucking up knowledge and you're not contributing something to make the deal keep moving forward. All right, let's see what we've got here. SEP. Of course, SEP, an industrial building. Why wouldn't it be just a single family house? Anyway, SEP. You found a 150,000 square foot industrial building that was formerly operated as a pet food processing plant. Okay, it's located in Sioux City, Iowa, and is listed for, got my attention at the list price. The building is vacant, however, it is located near a Holiday Inn and right next to a new to be developed freeway on-ramp. This is good. Do you see any potential use for a warehouse, self-storage space, or other creative use? Yes. The short answer is yes, SEP. However, here's how you're going to find the best use. If I were you, if you're even considering putting this under contract and making it happen, I'm going to go talk to the city's urban planners. I want to talk to the urban planning department and find out what they consider to be the highest and best use, because they already have a plan, as you're talking about. If they're building a freeway, great. They've got other plans for what's going to go there. What is that zoning going to look like nearby? Because the highest and best use, based upon the information we have, could change once you have that conversation. So that's where we've got to find out from them. And plus, I want to begin to enroll them on my side, right? If they're on my side from the beginning, then when it comes time to possibly applying for public funds to get something done, then they know they've been involved with the project from the beginning. They're not, figuring out who you are. So all of those things are there. This is a major multi-year undertaking. Let me say that again, Sep. This is a major multi-year undertaking, and I know you don't necessarily known for your patience. So this is a major multi-year undertaking. Keep that in mind if you're going to continue to pursue this one, all right? Let's see what we've got here. Jose, 24-unit apartment building. Okay, what happened to all the single-family house people? They don't like single-family houses no more? They're like, no, if you know this stuff, then tell me. All right, my name is Jose, and we've spoken a few times. Okay, Jose, hi. I've had some questions on a 24-unit apartment in Memphis, Tennessee. I currently reside in California and took your advice to look for deals out there. Okay. They are asking $100,000 and it needs $100,000 in repairs. It's bank owned and less than 5 miles from University of Memphis. The agent handling property does, what does he does? Does renovations and estimating $70K in repairs, but I'm saying $100,000 to be on the safe side. They're all 2-1s. That's good. Rents go to $450. Huh. And I could possibly get $500 per month when finished. I would like to know how I could calculate NOI. My mentor, Joanna. Hey, Joanna. How to Stockton area where I could go forth on your J Mathy. Yes, you guys keep making up new names for the stuff I do. All right, J Mathy, we'll call it that way. And how to find a purchase price and monthly cash flow. If you could assist me with this, I would greatly appreciate it. Have a great day. Okay, cool. So here's what we're talking about. He wants to know how to find the net operating income on this particular building with I need no further information. I'm going to show you how an easy and quick way to do that. Let me see if I can get my calculator to work today. Oops, where'd it go? Reflector, come on, close that down. Start it up, reflector. So basically, if we can get this calculator working, that'll be great. If not, no big deal. We'll come up with another way to make it work. I want to show you guys what he called the J Mathy, which I think is pretty funny, actually. But that's okay. I won't hold that against him for the time being. So here it is in a nutshell. You're going to take, remember, it's income minus expenses equals net operating income, which is the target number that we're looking for right now. So when you're first doing your go, no-go decisions, trying to figure out, does this make sense? Now, there are some things that make sense naturally. It's a 2-1. You guys know I like 2-bedroom, 1 bath, or 2-bedroom, 2 baths, especially when it comes to apartment units. I have many other questions because if it's near the University of Memphis, for example, the rent should be able to get more than 500. So I'm questioning how close it is to the University of Memphis, or is it closer to the Orange Mound area? I really, really don't know there. I find it interesting, the numbers that you're quoting to me. So just keep that in mind. Don't be fooled by its proximity to the university. Unless you're within a certain range, you're not going to get students. So don't be thinking that that's somehow a benefit. Anyway, I digress. So income minus expenses equals net operating income. So in this particular case, we've got rents at $450. Notice I'm taking the lower number, and that's, again, yes, on purpose. I don't want to start at a higher number. I'm taking the lower number of $450. And then what we've got is a 24 unit, so I'm going to just multiply that by 24. Of course, today would be the day where calculator doesn't work like we want it to. Let's find out. I've got one more thing I can do here. Yep, nope. Nope. Got it. So you won't see the numbers, but I'm going to do the math anyway. So we've got 450,000. So no, $450. Sorry, I speak in thousands, I guess. $450 times 24 is going to be $10,800 on a monthly basis, and that's going to be the new income number I'm going to work with, $10,800. Let's do this down here, 10,800. And then I'm going to subtract, I'm just going to arbitrarily assign 50% of this to expenses. So that would be 5,400, which means NOI is going to be 5,400 on a monthly basis. Another way of doing that is I'm going to take that same 5,400 and multiply it by 12, and that's going to give me 64,800. That's where I'm going to start. So let me tell you how to interpret this. Okay, remember, this is the process we're exercising right here, guys. DIIP. You've got to do this all the time. All right, and you're watching it happen real time. So it's got to be data to information to interpretation, which is where the action begins on what to do. So first we take the data. It was 450 times 24. That gives us some numbers. Now we understand how to play with this, so we know what we're dealing with. All right. So we take that rent and say, okay, assuming $450 a month of rent, and assuming that we can operate the building for half of that, so half of the income goes straight to expenses, we would be left with $64,800 a year of net operating income. Now we can obviously then apply any kind of cap rate we'd like and come up with a valuation based upon that number. And then therefore, what we do is we write an offer based upon our assumption and confirm what we suspect. You're like, wow, you have enough information to write an offer? The answer is yes, because an offer is just an invitation for a conversation. So there you go. That's how you would do that. Let's keep going and find the next question. This question over here, would looking at the master plan for the city also be a good source of information? Yes, so would be Association of Governments. So you can always take up your county, Association of Governments. That's often where you can find, especially when they're talking about freeways and what they're going to do as well. So let's keep going. Susan, duplex. Okay, I got one for you here, Jay. I have a lead on a property, currently rented for $2,100 a month total. The current owner's paid cash for it, so that rent is all cash flow. Well, that's not true. Does this mean I would go 2,100 times 4 equals 8,400? Well, that's a correct math equation. I just don't understand what you're talking about. It's a duplex. What is that? They're asking 270 for it, so the other math would be like this. I don't know what the times 4 is. I really don't know what that is. But I see what the 27, so 40, 50. Yes, got it, which means it fails the test anyway. But the first question still stands. If a property is owned outright with no debt service, it's not all cash flow. Do I still multiply that by 4? Got it. So the first issue is that it's not all cash flow. because there's still expenses to operate the property. You still need to calculate the NOI, which best means you need to take the 2,100, divide that by 2, Susan, and then you can multiply by 4. Now I understand what you're talking about. And yes, it does fail the second test. The second test of 1.5% is what she's referring to for those of you who are like, what is she talking about? This is the go, no-go decisions we talk about inside of our wholesaling course to figure out, hey, do I want this or not? Yes, and it fails the second test. So either way it goes, you're done. Move on to the next property. Susan, another question. How I let that person go? Got it. All right, so at the end of the day, Susan, we all do what we do best. I personally I don't fire people best or let them go or say, hey, your position's been reassigned. That's not my strength. So I've got people in place who do that. That's the short answer because it's not my strength. Hopefully that makes sense. Got it? Saturday, what can be the reasons why a seller doesn't have the authority to sell? What is the authority to sell? Got it. Here's the answer. Saturday, the seller wouldn't have authority to sell if they are not legally on title. That's usually the issue. If they're not legally on title, they don't have the authority to sell. And that kind of answers both the questions at once. So there could be a myriad of reasons why this seller, quote unquote, that should actually be in quotations, doesn't have the authority to sell. The person that's the whole point of the escrow and title insurance process, is to make sure that the person on the contract or the name or the entity on the contract has the legal right to sell. You don't know that until that research has been done. So those are the things that I'm talking about. Now, and if some of you were wondering previously about what Susan was talking about here, again, this is coming from those of you who are Cashflow Diary Founders members, and I appreciate the questions. This is good. Inside the Cashflow Diary Founders membership, which there's a link below if you want to find out more about that, the trial's $1. My point is that as I'm going through my day, people get the privilege of seeing what I'm doing. And just like I started out with the whole fire thing, this is another episode where I had to let individuals go. And what Susan has done is she's watching these things and asking questions about how do you do that. Anyway, if you want to find out more about it, click the link below the video and that should help you as well. All right, Jay, to follow up on a multi-unit property I mentioned in the Facebook group. Excellent. So this question is from Haya. She's a part of our wholesaling product. And we have a closed Facebook group specifically for all the members that are there. If the seller has already told me the price she wants, great, for her pre-foreclosure property, how do I bring the conversation back towards a wholesale focus? Also, should I tell her that I know it's in pre-foreclosure? Got it. All right, so telling people that they're weak usually doesn't work. It's like going to the table and saying, hi, sir, I know that you're broke and have no money, so let me help you. That does not go well, all right? However, I will say this. Scroll back. Yeah, how do you bring the conversation back to a wholesale focus? Haya, price is not the focus. You're focused on price. You can wholesale something based on terms. So, and I'm making up numbers real fast, right, for you in this situation. If your property is, say she wants $1 million, and I'm making up numbers because I don't remember. Okay, that's the number she wants, no problem. I will pay you your $1 million. Here's how I will do it. I will give you $1 a day for 1,000,000 days. Sound good? Now, that's $1 million. The point is focus on the terms, not the price. I get that. So you bring it back to a wholesale focus by conceding, excellent, no problem. I'll give you the price. Here's some additional questions I need to understand to make sure that I can pay it, and I'll show you how I can pay you the number that you're asking for. Hopefully that makes sense, because at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to, is if you give them a way for it to make sense, it'll be able to make sense. So keep that in mind now. Remind you, Haya, I think, maybe you're not coming, but this is a good time for everyone to know that we're doing the VIP Sales Day on August 2nd at 8 a.m. Pacific time. It'll be launched live, and I'll be going through conversations and scripts just like this on how to make sure that the seller still signs at the dotted line. So if you want to find out more information about the VIP Sales Day, just send an email to info@cashflowdiary.com. All right, so Christopher, oh my goodness. You've got a question. Investing around your schedule. Okay, that's an interesting statement. I work around 60 hours per week in your day job. Stop that. I recently got my real estate license. Why? And do that when I'm not at work. For what reason? These are all questions, by the way, you should be asking and answering yourself. And I also volunteer for my local fire department, which is a passion of mine. Good stuff. That's the only thing you're doing right now that I like. Great. Work those passions. I just got married a couple months ago. Awesome. And my wife is now pregnant. Now you're nervous. I can tell because you've got kids coming. I know these are all excuses. Oh, well, good. But it just sometimes seems there are not enough hours in the day or enough money in the bank to get anything going. I bought a 4-unit rental about a year ago. Okay, that's just weird. I've never had anyone say I don't have enough money and then, hey, I bought a 4-unit building. That's awesome. I bought a 4-unit rental about a year ago on a lease option. It needed more work than I anticipated. They always do. So I currently only have 1 unit rented. I understand. The rest are really unrentable, but I'm in the process of fixing them up as money comes available. Got it. So I'm not sure the question, Chris. Here's what I do know. I want water. Somebody? Anybody? They over there giving the guys water and I'm just dying of thirst. Tell them, give Jay water. Anyway, all right, I'm back. So here's my point. He says he's in the process of fixing them up. Chris, here's what you need to do. You need to learn the raise of capital that you need. You're trying to earn and own. And let me show you what I mean. Oh, boy. This is why the profit analysis quadrant, guys, right here is so critical. You have a choice. And this is where you're stuck, Chris. You're trying to earn and own versus raise and control. Raising and controlling happens faster, and right now when you're stuck in the earn and own and earn and own and earn and own, it's very slow and it takes forever and you don't get there and it feels very frustrating. When you raise and control, because here's the thing, the money that you're looking to earn, you're not going to go spend it anyway, so you might as well raise it because you can raise it faster and then control it and invest it. Because you're going to earn it and invest it, you might as well raise it and invest it. This happens faster, solves your problem, it eliminates the negative quote-unquote experiences and cash flow, etc. Plus, your second issue is, in essence, you're being way too greedy if you're trying to do all the work yourself. You need a team so that especially if you've got 60 hours plus per week already going, dude, you don't have time to be doing this yourself. You're not saving money. You're not saving money by doing it yourself because you are actually spending more money. So let me show you what I mean by this. Here's what you're paying. You're paying what is called an opportunity cost. You're also paying what my wife and I call emotional costs, because sometimes decisions, you may have the money for them, but they're emotionally expensive. So, these are the things that are going on. Hypothetically speaking, in your 4-unit, let's just say that your 4-unit is renting for $1,000 a door. So that's $4,000 a month or $48,000 annually, okay? And I'm just going to keep that. See, I almost put a K there. Man, I am only thinking wow. I'm only thinking in really large numbers today. This is good. I like that. All right, so $48,000 annually. Another way of looking at that, because all I'm going to do is I'm going to take that $48,000 and divide that by 360. That's all I'm going to do. So let me get my device here. $48,000 annually divided by 360 is $133, okay? So this $133 is what you are losing per day. Now, I don't know how much you earn at your job, but maybe it's $133,000, maybe it's more, I don't know. But you're paying an opportunity cost of $133 a day. Well, you say, well, Jay, but I've got one of them rented. Okay, so then you're paying 75% of that number. So I can multiply that number by 0.75. So that's still $100 a day. So you're now losing $100 a day, which means you have to make up this 100 plus raise plus earn enough money to fix all the other 3 units, in addition to make all the other payments and operational expenses This is why you need to learn to raise capital, because you're paying such a huge opportunity cost every time you try to earn and own versus raise and control. Let's keep going. See what we find. Oh, look, water. Yay. All right, George, thank you for typing in a name. What direct mail marketing method would you recommend to find deals? None. That's the answer, George. I'm not a direct mail kind of guy. That can get expensive. I tried it. The only time I recommend direct mail is if you are marketing for notes. Like, that's something that we do. Like, I buy, I sell, I create and sell notes. If you're looking to buy discounted notes, then direct mail is pretty much your best and first option you should go for. I don't like direct mail for finding deals. I just don't. It's too expensive. Remember, you're also talking to the guy that was squatting in bank-owned property, credit score of 398, didn't have $75 to put together, so I couldn't rely on, hey, I can just strike a check and do something for direct mail. It's too expensive, in my opinion. You stress too much of what to put in the letter, how to get them to open the envelope. Do you have it be lumpy? Does it have to be big? How do I make it yellow? Do I need it to make it scented? And all this other stuff. And I would just rather you go out there, start a cash flow club, start a cash flow game, invite people over to your house and start doing this consistently. And I promise you, you do this consistently, you'll be in front of more deals faster. Here's another quick strategy. You want to find a deal? Go play this game at Starbucks or a local coffee shop. You'll be interrupted by so many people. It's ridiculous. So just keep that in mind. All right. Let me see. Oh, I'm supposed to be over here. Christopher's question we're done with. Sabrina, time. Your greatest challenge is time. I understand. I work and commute for long hours. Understand, guys, when you're feeling time challenged, it's a priority issue. You're placing something of greater priority. So it's not like I have a solution to give you more hours in a day. I don't. Richard Branson, guess what? He has the same amount of time in a day as you, and he earns more money than you or I combined. And that's the point. He uses his time more efficiently than you or I. And that's what I'm saying to you. So find better ways to use your time. Demand a higher return on your time. I was talking with someone earlier today, and I just told them, actually one of the new coaching clients, they're starting our program. And I was just letting them know, I was like, look, when I first started, I said, if the activity itself wasn't worth $500 an hour, if it didn't earn $500 an hour, I personally didn't do it. Well, think about this. How many activities in your day are not worth $500 an hour, but yet you do them? Suddenly, if you only did the activities that were worth $500 an hour, suddenly you have a whole lot of time to do a whole bunch of other things. And more importantly, you can hire and train and find the people who are willing to sell their time for less to be able to go out there and create something that's worth $500 an hour or more. That's the philosophy. That's a way to look at your time in a completely different way to demand a higher return. How many states have you done oh God. Okay. Wholesale deals. All right, let's go with, we've got Michigan, Florida, Tennessee, Illinois, Michigan, Florida, Tennessee, Illinois. Wholesale deals, though. See, just wholesale transactions. See, there are other states where I've done other types of transactions. I'm just thinking wholesale transactions. Those are the ones that come to mind. There could be more. I'm sure I could look in our database and find them, but those are the first ones that come to mind. So hopefully that helps. Afternoon, Jay. How would you respond to a seller that says the bank told them sub-2 investors are bad? How would I respond to a seller that says the bank told them subject to investors are bad? Okay, got it. Well, you got to remember, Jackson, in this particular case, the bank has a vested interest in taking back the property, don't they? Especially if there's equity. So if there's equity, they're not going to say anything other than, especially if they want the property, especially if it's a local regional bank. And at the end of the day, your seller needs to understand who's going to provide a solution. So does that mean then, Mr. Seller, for example, if he said that to me, it'd be like, okay, sir, so what I hear you saying is that you would rather have a foreclosure than me help you. Is that accurate? And find out what they say. And if his answer is yes, then cool, move on. So Kyle's got a question. It would be cool to see a timeline on this building. Got it. So oftentimes I'm talking about buildings inside the Cashflow Diary Founders membership, and you're asking questions about seeing how the rehab occupancy and staffs have transformed and whatnot, and that's great. Except we don't do those. Time-lapse photography can be very expensive. We just haven't done one on one of the buildings. I would like to do one, sure, in the future. If you've got the equipment and you want to sit there and monitor and make sure it stays safe for free, great, let me know. We'll make that happen. But until then, Kyle, not going to happen just yet. But I hear you, man. That is a great idea. Henry has a question. You just joined Renatus. I found 400 to do the Essentials program. You are one on the reason you're... I think I know what you're trying to say. I want to learn to be a real estate investor. Been on SSDI for 10 years now and ready to get work by learning. Great. Question, which direction should you go? Henry, I don't really care. And people think I sometimes have an ulterior agenda. I don't care whose information you get. I just care that you get somebody's information and do it. If you think we're the ones that have the information, great. And Renatus definitely has the information, period. My only concern is that you do it. If you do it, great. Everything works, nothing doesn't. That's my position on the matter. So hopefully that helps. Robert, coming up with financing since my credit and income is not that good right now. Robert, you have to learn how to create value for those who do have. See, remember this? I think, where did it go? From earlier, talking about knowledge, time, money, and credit. You've got to be able to leverage your knowledge and time in such a way that it's valuable so that the money and credit person wants to participate and play this game with you. And once you come up with that, they will be your financing and you'll be fine. Okay? Oh, got it. Hey, he's the one under hot stage lights. Yes, these lights can be eye raising control thanks to Jay. Yes, Lamont, way to go. So Jay, when you first started and had no money, how did you find those first deals, especially the ones that are out of state, and before you started going to cash flow games? Well, guys, you're killing me. It wasn't before I went to that's what I did. I went to cash flow games and other networking events. I know it sounds crazy. You're like, what's the real secret? What did you do first? I played cash flow, and then I went to networking events. And for those of you who have the book, let me see if I can find it real fast, because it's right there. I literally wrote the exact words I say. I'll just say them. Hi, my name is Jay. I'm a wholesaler. What that means is that I buy property at a discount and I sell property at a discount. What type of investing are you looking to do? And I trained myself to ask questions and grab people's investor identity, write that down, then find what they wanted. That's literally what I did. Now, when that led me to a bunch of buyers. When it's a person who didn't have something that they wanted to buy but wanted to sell, they volunteered it. They would say, I've got nothing that I want to buy. I am looking to sell. Great. Tell me about the property. Why are you looking to sell? And all those other questions. And I would dig and write that down too. That is what I did. I just find it funny that I think you guys think I'm like hiding some super secret knowledge somewhere. And I'm doing my best to keep it as simple and as plain as possible, because it was that simple as plain. I didn't have time to get high level and creative with it. That's just what I did. Anyway, is that Ilya? Okay, whatever. I did my best, sorry. Figure out how to use other people's money and financing to close those deals. Got it. So here's what I would do, Ilya. We produce a course that teaches you exactly how to do that. Lamont talked earlier about how he was able to learn to raise private capital or raise and control based upon information, a number of people, SEP, etc., and others. If you go to cashflowdiary.com/find money, you have the ability to purchase and become a part of our Raising Private Capital video course. Again, obviously it's about 16 hours worth of information. You've got workbooks, MP3s, videos, exercises, and courses. If you follow it, you'll be able to raise capital. And then you have a closed Facebook group where you can interact with us personally on a day-to-day basis with any specific questions that you might have as well. And for those of you who are so inclined and you want to go ahead and take advantage of the full pay option at $14.97, you'll get an automatic invite for an individual consultation session with me, and I'll answer whatever questions you got related to any deal that you're in the process of doing, so that we can make that happen for you. All right, let's see. Tino, all right? ARV, calculating the true value of a home, building solid relationships with buyers, organizes into a business with systems, getting rental property with no cash. How do I do a subject deal or a lease option deal? I cannot go through all that in 5 minutes at all. I will take the first part and because that'll be the beginning. There's so much in your question, Tino, that it's like, wow. Yes, got it. So here's what I'm thinking. When you're looking at the value of an asset, so in this case, you're talking about real estate and the house, right? Remember this, all assets have 3 values. So keep that in mind, and I'll do my best to spell that correctly. Assets have 3 values. They have a use value, they have a speculative value, and then they have an investment value. And based upon whose looking at it, they place a different value on it. What I simply mean is value is in the eye of the beholder. For example, if I plan to use a house as a place to stay, I can pay more for it because I need a place to stay. That's how I'm looking at it. So I'll pay a certain dollar amount because I can get Fannie and Freddie finance loans and all these other things that allows me to leverage my income to a very high level. Speculative value means I'm trying to make money on the difference in the price. So I'm looking at quadrant 1 of the profit analysis quadrant, and I'm only trying to do speculative value. So I've got to buy really low, and I've got to be able to sell a little bit higher than what I bought, and I've got to buy right, and therefore I'm concerned primarily about the appreciation or equity inside there. Investment value is all about the cash flow. So I need to know, can I operate it profitably? Can I generate enough income on a monthly basis? All 3 of these could be for the same house. Same house. And you come up with 3 different prices simply because the person whose eyes are looking at it have a different value. So keep that in mind. Woohoo! Let's keep going. See what we've got here. What is Van? I want to learn step by step how to do real estate deals from start to finish. Van, I agree. You should. So here's what you're going to do. You should take advantage of our wholesale course. That's at the end of the day, that's exactly what it's there for, is to show you how to find the deals. So we show you how to find the deals. We show you how to find the money. When you put the 2 together, you have the ability to make that happen. Van, if you want to know more about that, send an email over to info@cashflowdiary.com. Or if you'd like a complimentary webinar about wholesaling, you can go to cashflowdiary.com/workshop. I'm going to show you what that looks like right here. Whee! So go to cashflowdiary.com/workshop. When you get there, go ahead and register for the workshop, and I'll show you what wholesaling looks like, and you'll have the ability to do that. Okay? So that should help you. Hopefully, it does. Let's see. Whoops. Billy's got a question. Billy, creating a lead generation engine. I like that. That leads motivated sellers to me as I live overseas and work a full-time job. Okay. So, Billy, I don't know where you are. I don't know when you say live overseas. It's like, okay, if you're in the U.S., you're saying, is that overseas or is Europe overseas? Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, I think what you're trying to say is that you want to generate sellers where you're not. And I get that. Then you got to be of service to sellers where you're not. So find a way to serve sellers. In this day and age with the internet, there are many different ways of doing this. One way that we do it, as many of you go, you can see right here, we have a podcast in iTunes, right? Provide quality information to people that they need in a timely fashion, and they will be on your list, and that becomes their sellers, and you let people know that you have a solution. The major mistake many people make is that they lead with their need and not with their solution. Lead with your solution and tell people, hey, I heal people, I heal people, I'll heal people. And guess what? All the sick people are going to find you. It's just that way. Now, I don't heal people. I ain't got none of that powers. You know what I'm trying to say. Lead with your solution. And that's what happens every day. So, looks like we are in the process of getting close to the end of all the questions. So hopefully for those of you that are live, as you see what we're trying to do, So I'm trying to get through all the submitted questions, and I want to make sure that those of you who are live are rewarded by being able to type in your questions. So if you've got more questions, go ahead and type them in as I drink more water. Oh, look at that. Jay went to Starbucks and met 2 people who tried to close me for a network marketing business. Yeah, I understand. I declined their opportunity, but when I asked them the question, I love it. It's called The Question. We should make a slide. The Question. All right. They told me that they have 5 single families with income of $1,900 a month. One is vacant. They want to sell them for $145,000. This is what he owes in mortgages. They are 3-1 houses at $29,000. Sorry, I'm smiling. They're 3-1 houses at $29,000 each. I haven't seen them yet. I raised 20% down. And I want seller financing for the 116. How do I show that amortization appreciation is more than present cash flow? Rhonda, I'm not quite sure of your question. Why do you need to show that the amortization and appreciation is more than present cash flow? To who do you need to show that to? But I will commend you, Rhonda, for doing what I'm asking you to do. She's been maybe a week, guys, maybe 9 days, and she's in the process of, she's already raising capital, finding deals, asking the question, and making this happen. I'm so proud. I'm excited. So type, Rhonda, help me with the questions that I have. So type those in there. Jay, can you go over the depreciation part of the quadrant? I have someone that can benefit. Sure. All right, Lamont, that's easy for me to do. Here's the marker. So for those of you wondering what Lamont's talking about, we've got the profit analysis quadrant here. So we've got quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. And as a reminder, it's in the book, page 250, 269. That's what we're talking about when it comes to the profit analysis quadrant, okay? So keep that in mind. And inside, Lamont's wanting to understand quadrant number 2, which is where we talk about depreciation. Remember, depreciation is a function it's a benefit that's given to us by the taxing authority. So you have to depreciate the part of the building that's related to the improvement. I think I may be able to find one of our slides on this really fast. So let me find out. Let me see. Raising. Awesome. Excellent. So let me see. As you can see here, let me see if I can find one of our slides. Profit analysis quadrant. Look at that. Look at that. Boom. Let me see. I've got a slide somewhere in here where it's oh God, that's messy. That did not come out right at all. Well, that didn't work. Let me see what else we've got. I might have. Okay, this could work. So this is a presentation that I think I've done live. So hopefully that live one will come through and be well. Kyle has a question. Dear Jay, how would you hold title in a subject to avoid the due on sale clause? My research leads me to want to use a land trust. Kyle, you can't avoid the due on sale clause. Sorry, doesn't happen. That's the short answer. There's no avoiding the due on sale clause. It's due on sale. It's a sale. That doesn't happen. There's no way to avoid it. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do a subject to. It just means you can't avoid the due on sale clause. So here we go back to depreciation. So in this particular example, we're saying we have a single family house that's $50,000. We're going to use what is known as straight line depreciation, 27.5 years. And you can only depreciate the amount of the purchase price that's relative to the improvement. In this case, we're saying 80% is relative to the improvement, or $40,000. So it's 80% of 50,000 gives us the 40,000. I'm going to take that 40,000 and divide that by 27.5 years, because the IRS states that that's how many years I can use straight line depreciation on a improved property for in this particular case. So when you just do the math, that comes to a $1,454.55 depreciation credit annually. So you get that credit for 27.5 years in that regard. So assuming you're in a 30% tax bracket, you end up with 30% of that $1,550 or $1,454.55 as dollar for dollar what you get to write off. In this case, $436.36. And if you had made a $10,000 down payment, that's the same as getting a 4.36% return. So, Lamont, what you need to do, take your purchase or acquisition cost, subtract the land. If you have any rehab, you can add that to it, or you can cost segregate and separate that out. This is using straight line depreciation, but that's a quick way of understanding how it all works together. All right, so, woohoo! Let's see what else we've got here. Rhonda, he wants lump sum money for the deal. Okay, but I want to show him how the seller finance option will give him a good long-term return. Rhonda, that makes no sense. Why was he wanting lump sum money if he's not? Here's the question. There's no reason to give him lump sum money if he's not receiving any cash. Because you said the price he wanted was the balance of the mortgage. So there makes no sense for lump sum money. What is the lump sum money? I'm clearly missing something inside of that example. Or he has another use for his credit, or he has a reason he doesn't want those loans anymore. There's something that's going on. Kyle, could you give an example of a sub-2 you have done based upon what I just said? Yeah, that was my very first transaction, Kyle, is a subject to deal. What did I use? We just did subject to, and what you do is you notify the lender that all future payments, the 1098 statements, et cetera, need to come to your address. You keep making the payments, and we've been doing this now for about 6 years. That's literally what we did. I have no other way to say it. We let it be that simple. It's just, and then what we did is we took title to the property. The loan is still in the seller's name, and we've been making their payments for years. That's what we've been doing. So hopefully that clears it up. He actually needed to buy another house because he's moving out of state. Okay, so he needs his credit to buy another house. Rhonda, now that makes sense. So here's what you do, Rhonda. You raise the capital for the loan payoff balance. That's what I would do. And then, there's nothing else that you need to show him. If he needs his credit cleared, that's a different story than he wanting a lump sum payment, because he's not getting any money. If he just needs his credit cleared, then you raise the capital for the dollar amounts. You show the profit analysis quadrant to those that you're raising the capital from. By the way, as a quick tip, in this situation, I would strongly urge you to focus on quadrant 3 as the benefit that you give away. You give 100% of this away. You keep quadrants 1, 2, and 4 in this situation, and you go raise 150 grand for someone's retirement plan. So does that make sense? That's what we're after, is you keep quadrant 3. Jay, was that a tax credit or a tax write-off? Got it. Tyler, you're talking about, okay, there's 2 different numbers inside the depreciation that I think you're referring to. So let me go back. One is a dollar for dollar lowering of your AGI, adjusted gross income. And the other is what is used to calculate that. That 1454.55 is what's used to calculate that. You multiply that by your tax bracket to actually figure out how much money you're saving, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so you use that to help lower your adjusted gross income. And again, guys, for those of you that are in the U.S., this is clear, this is clean, this is simple. I know for a fact this whole quadrant in Estonia doesn't even exist. Other countries, possibly Spain, many countries have something inside of their tax code that allows them to benefit from housing. You always have to consult with your local CPA, attorney, blah, 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 to figure out how that works. But in general, this is how it works in most cases, is that you get some sort of ethereal credit, some number made out of air, and you take that number, multiply by the tax bracket, and that's what lowers your taxable income or liability. So keep that in mind. Again, this is all what we go over in detail inside of our Raising Private Capital course to help you know how to leverage and use this to raise tons of money to go out there and get your deals done. Right on, Jay. You just helped me raise more capital. You're welcome, Lamont. That's what I do. Are those slides on depreciation and such available in your courses? If not, can we get access to them? Can we get access to those to use in presentations? Interesting question, Tyler. I hadn't thought about creating a presentation for you guys that it actually explains the quadrant. Are you trying to tell me that would be helpful? Okay, man. Give me about 2 weeks. It's going to take some time, but we'll put that on the list, and we'll do our best to make that a part of the Raising Private Capital course and give you an additional way to download that, okay? So that's what we're going to do. Additionally, for those of you who are looking at raising more capital or are already part of the course, etc., you're going to want to be a part of the VIP sales day because we're going to talk a lot about how to use the quadrant inside of the sales conversation to be able to raise more capital and get more deals signed, etc., etc. So you definitely want to be there for that. Any more questions over there? Let me see. What does that say? Yes, that's helpful. Nowadays, I find most lenders want an assumption. Yes, an assumption does require a credit check, and that's and a piece of your soul. Wow, they do. I did you know what, Kyle? Here's something I want you to, I don't know if you've watched or listened to this episode of the podcast. I don't know if any of you have, but here's one that I want you all to listen to, and you'll understand the advantage of being able to raise private capital versus not. So episode number 58, where I was talking with David Phelps, and he also raises capital out in the Texas market. And we spend a lot of time talking about the reasons you don't want to give a personal guarantee and why, not why banks are bad, boo, 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 but why raising private capital is so good and so beneficial for you. There's so much more flexibility. You're definitely going to want to listen to that because I know that that's going to help you a ton. Rhonda, yes, Jay, thanks. You're welcome. Amy W. Jay, why did you say why when a previous asker told you he had just gotten his real estate license? Is it a waste of time? How many people that you work with have their license? Exactly, Amy. That's exactly why I said why, because there needs to be a very specific reason for you to go through that brain damage. I don't know what that is, and that's why I ask why. Because at most, the license at least it doesn't tell you how to do real estate. It doesn't tell you how to transact real estate. It tells you how to fill out paperwork and keep everybody out of jail. That's awesome, that's great, and that's if you're only working the retail market. By definition, investors don't work the retail market. That's not what we do. Now, does it give you access to some additional resources? Sure. If that's what you're doing, okay, great. But you could also circumvent the need to get a license by a good quality relationship with the right kind of realtor. So I personally would rather you invest that time completely differently than just going to get a license. A license doesn't help you. It says you can pass a test and fill out paperwork. That's my viewpoint, and all you realtors, you can send me emails saying I hate you. All you want, doesn't matter. It's not going to change my viewpoint because there are so many people. Now, that doesn't mean everyone I know doesn't have one, but most people who are investors do not, period. Okay? Jay, do you have time to go over the chart that Ray gave me? Got it. Total amount needed for retirement. I think I do, Sep. So let's find that out. I want to show you guys something. Because sometimes I don't think you truly understand the value of cash flow, okay? And I'm just going to show you what I mean. So here's what I mean by this. This is something that you can use, you should use all the time, especially when you're working with individuals in a retirement plan because they're trying to save up a big old pile of cash and they can't always get there and they don't see how the money's going to quote unquote last long enough, and it's not, is the short answer. But let me show you some math that'll help you to be able to make this distinction of why cash flow is so important. Let's assume for a small second that all we're talking about is $100 a month, okay? So I'm gonna take a really small, almost insignificant number. For most of you, $100 a month might barely like pay your cell phone bill, right? That's, if that. It doesn't go too far. Now, you college students, you're like, dude, that's like 100 meals at Taco Bell. I got it. You get my point. It goes further depending upon your expenses, but in this particular case, we're going to say it's $100 a month. On this $100 a month, another way of stating this exact same number is $1,200 a year. Okay, now $1,200 a year probably isn't attractive to anyone in any way, shape, or form. But watch the math that happens. What does it take for you right now, in terms of your money, to have your money earn $1,200 a year? Let's assume, for example, because it's all about vehicles now, return on investment, return on time, return on equity, all of these higher level concepts. Let's assume for a moment that you accepted something as low as 2%. on your money. Let's assume that for a second. So here's what I want to ask you. In order to get $1,200 a year and you're getting 2% on your money, how much money do you need to have in the bank? So watch this. I'm going to take 1,200 divided by 2%, and it's going to come up with a large number, which in this case is $60,000. You've got to earn and own $60,000, sit it aside, earn 2% to be able to get $1,200 a year, which, as we have already determined, is not even significant and you definitely don't eat well if you're eating Taco Bell. You get my point? Now, there's nothing wrong with Taco Bell. If you work at Taco Bell, keep working at Taco Bell, get yourself in a better job. It takes some time. I don't want no Taco Bell CEO saying you hated Taco Bell. All right, you get my point. All I'm trying to say is this $60,000. How long does it take you to earn $60,000? Do you have to work all year for this? Can you earn and save $60,000? How long does that take? For most of us, when you first start, you might not have ever had $60,000 happen in a year. Here's my point. We take the same situation, $1,200 a year or $100 a month inside of real estate. You can raise more than enough capital that earns way more than 2%. And because people need a place to live, work, play, or lay, getting to $1,200 a year you could do with none of your own money, none of your own credit inside of months. There have been situations in which I've taken 12-unit buildings and inside of 90 days created way more than $1,200 of annual income. These are the things that I'm talking about that are accessible to you. And here's the biggest reason you need to understand that. It's a word that most of us don't really get, and it's called inflation. You don't really understand that you can't out-earn their ability to print. And you have to figure out a way to create more value faster than they can print it. And unfortunately, trading hours for dollars doesn't work. And sometimes you got to invest in sharpening your saw, sharpening your skill set before you get to pull something out of the economy, right? You got to become worth more to the marketplace, and you've got to buy books, and you've got to invest in shows or watching shows. I mean, seriously, this is free. I mean, good Lord. Anyway, the point is you got to still sit there, though. It's free from a dollar standpoint, but it's expensive in terms of time. And that's what I'm sharing with you, is that it's expensive in terms of time. And my goal is to make sure that you produce a return on this time, that you learn something that you can use and go out there and make things happen. That's what Q&A with Jay is for and about, is to help you make that happen. And then for those of you who are already part of the Cashflow Diary Founders membership, you get to see what I'm learning. You get all the archived shows of Q&A with Jay. You get to access all of these things so that you have a way to continue that conversation. Anyway, if you want more information on that Founders membership, click the photo below. There should be a little link just below, and that should help you. Let me see. I see a question. Hey, Robin, how are you? Yes, and in Arizona, it actually puts a bigger target on your back. You are now an expert if you are a realtor and do investing for themselves. You could take advantage of the client. Yes, I didn't even get to the point that there's additional liability of having a license. There's higher standards. And there's nothing wrong with higher standards. It's just that by the moment you have a real estate license, you are held to such an impossible standard relative to your experience, it just doesn't make sense. Now, here's the thing I want you to do note. Robin's a realtor. And she's okay with me telling you that, hey, guess what it does? It teaches you how to fill out paperwork and keep people out of jail. That's pretty much it. You need to take that under consideration of if you're looking at getting your license, that is probably not the best place to invest your time. There are so many other ways to find deals than the MLS. There are so many other resources out there for you, especially with today's technology and the internet. You don't necessarily need a license. Can it be an advantage? Yes, but it's a severe disadvantage as well. Hopefully, this has helped you guys today, and I want to make sure that everybody knows that, like as I said before at the beginning, we have a podcast in iTunes. We produce it on Mondays. You see the release dates. We do our best to find quality guests, get you quality information. Cashflowdiarypodcast.com. Cashflowdiarypodcast.com. That way you have the ability to listen, to learn, to exercise, to do the information. If you're reading the book, I heard someone today, and it irritated the tar out of me. He's like, yeah, Jay, I bought your book, but I haven't opened it. Well, I'm just like, please give me my book back then. Let me give it to someone who's going to read and use what's in it, because that's why it was written. It wasn't written so that you could see me on the back cover. That wasn't fun. It was written so that you would use it. The information that I'm sharing with you is here so that you use it. That's probably, if I'm Nazi-ish about anything, it's use the information. The most expensive information is the information you don't use. The cheapest, I don't care what you pay for it. You could pay $100,000 for access to someone's ideas. And if those ideas give you more in use value than they taken from you in cash value, that idea was cheap, period. So hopefully that helps you. I'll get off my soapbox now. I'm gonna go because I got some great news regarding the commercial lease. I got some great news regarding so many things. I've got to go create more entries for those of you who are inside the Founders membership so that you can hear about all the good stuff that's going on. Today has been an absolutely phenomenal day in so many ways. Anyway, I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Until next time.